The session recordings and slides will be posted on our virtual showcase website. That's where we host and put all the recordings from all the sessions we have had. This is our last one for this fiscal year, but this is actually our 12th showcase. So it's really exciting to see so many of you coming back and joining us and agreeing to present as well and share your stories with other participants. So this is fantastic. One more thing I'm going to do is I should turn off those notifications. Join sound, so the beeping will stop. So that's great. And I'm also going to say hello to Tracy. I think I saw Tracy somewhere here for 1 second. Welcome, Tracy. Tracy is my colleague from AlphaPlus, and she kindly agreed to help me with some of the links and information and managing the chat, because with a bigger group, it's a bit harder to do that. Tracy, your co-host right now as well. Perfect. 1:30, we have an hour and a half. Any questions or feedback before we start? I'm going to quickly check our chat. Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. So everyone is just sending different messages. This is perfect. Tracy, if I missed anything, please speak up to let me know, so I don't miss anything. Starting our session, I'm going to start with our first page because we are talking about smartphones. And one of the things that's fairly easy to do with the smartphone is actually to use QR codes. So some of you, if you're walking around and see QR codes for different purposes, we have one on our slide as well. If you want to take a picture or scan the QR code, you will be able to open the slides on your mobile device. Then you can save it or email it and use it later as well. You can, of course, also use the link if that's a bit easier, but it's one of those tools and resources that we sometimes forget that we have. So we are also learning and starting to use it as well. Now, we have done multiple sessions with Zoom and organizing different sessions like that since COVID. Zoom has been the #1 tool for so many of us. We also like it for our deaf participants just because we can spotlight. So you will notice that our interpreters are spotlighted. But if any of you have any questions or get a bit stuck with some of the tools, let me know. For our deaf participants, if you feel that we should pin you, please let me know or give you the pinning options. That way you will be able to pin specific videos to have them visible as well. Now, very often when you are watching a screen where we are sharing something and there are other participants there as well, you may want to readjust your viewing options. So don't forget that on a computer, you can click in the top right corner. It's usually either a waffle menu or it just says viewing options. If you click on that, you may be able to switch from speaker view to gallery view and other options you may like. That is something you can control and change at any time. But very close to it, especially if you're in the gallery view, there's an option to resize the window with the videos. So if you would like to see a bit bigger videos, make them slightly larger, you can click on that and slide back and forth to make that bigger for yourself as well. Quick overview of the session. As you can see, I'm jumping in because I want our guest presenters to have room and speak as much as they can. We are going to do introductions and housekeeping, so me talking about Zoom and a few extra things. Then we will have a bit of a facilitated discussion. Really, we switched it a bit. So in the past, we asked a lot of questions, but we felt that it was taking time away from the presentation. So we actually asked the guest presenters to answer some of the questions through the slides they prepared for our session today. And then we are going to have Q&A and a wrap-up. If we have time, we will do a breakout room, but if we don't, we'll just skip to it and move on. I strongly encourage you to use the chat, connect with each other, share information and resources. We are going to try to share that information as well afterwards. Okay? Perfect. So I'm just going to mute all for now. And then if there's anyone who needs to unmute, please let me know because I may accidentally mute some of you as well. So this is just to make sure that we go through our land acknowledgement. I'm going to read it out and make sure that everybody has a chance to join me. We would like to begin by acknowledging the indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improve our own understanding of local indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, We acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Perfect. Now I'm going to move and talk about a bit of a context, just to let you know why and how we are doing this session today. So some of you may have heard or even participated in Metro Toronto Movements for Literacy sessions after they developed their smartphone learning modules. Not everybody had a chance to do that. Not everybody even heard about those modules. So we figured it may be a good time and chance for all of us to talk about it, to share how they have been developed, but also how are they being used in the field. You know how sometimes it is, we get a lot of reports and documents and worksheets, but how do we actually apply that in context? How do we work on those with our learners? So we really want to make sure that you have a chance to talk about it, to share your own experiences if you're using the modules. If not, maybe start and learn more about them as well. So this is our space to share together. And we are really curious to learn and share and participate. So feel free, again, to ask questions, put comments in the chat, or even speak up if necessary. Now, I talked about QR codes and using our phones. We have a smartphone session. So what I would like to do next is actually introduce you to Slido. Some of you may have seen this tool before. The way the Slido works is that on the next slide, it's going to show you a code, and you will be able to scan a code, or you'll be able to just type in slido.com into your browser if you're using computers, enter a specific code, and answer a question. So the question that I have for you is, do you currently teach about smartphones, use smartphones with your learners? Yes or no, or maybe, or you tried and didn't. So the way it works again is take up your phone, go to your camera app, scan the QR code, and you will be able to enter the code and answer the question. If it is a bit easier on the computer, go to slido.com, enter the code you see on the screen, and we will start seeing your responses. And as you will watch the responses coming in with me, you're going to see how many participants are taking part in the question, what answers are coming in, and the system and slide is adjusting to see the responses right away. I'll give you a few more minutes. So far, 23 participants, and we have a fairly big group. So feel free to try it, explore it. I'm going to say I use a free version of Slido. So 3 questions per presentation can be added for free. There's also paid options, but I haven't had to use the paid option yet. And I really like the tool because it's so visual and so quick for everyone. Perfect. 34 participants, the number are still coming in. So many of you are using the smartphones. That's fantastic. Some of you not yet, or not, you tried, but you're not there yet. So this is potentially a very good topic and potentially why you're here joining us today. So continue putting this information in. I will be able to see the final results at the end of the presentation as well, and we'll include them in the slides. So you will have a bit more information and insight into how many programs actually around you are using smartphones or talking about smartphones with their learners as well. I'll give you 1 more minute before we continue. Perfect. 53% said yes, 33% said no, and then 15% said we tried a while ago. And again, the numbers will be changing, but we get an idea of how many programs are using smartphones. So this is really exciting. Now, I'm going to take a moment to introduce our guests today and let you know why or how they're joining us. We will have Ambreen from Metro Toronto Movement for Literacy. So Ambreen was more responsible or involved in developing the actual modules. But also we're going to have our guest presenters from LAMP, and that's going to be Johanna, it's going to be Anita and Robert, who are going to talk about how they're using the modules with their learners, what's working, what's not working, giving us some tips and ideas. And also we're going to have Brittany Spears, I'm thinking of that name, Brittany, who will share how the modules or smartphones are used at the Literacy Council York Simcoe. So this is really exciting. On the side, I just want to also flag that we have Tracy with me. Tracy is my colleague from AlphaPlus, who is always amazing with our chat and taking notes and keeping me on track. So thank you, Tracy, for joining in. And we have two interpreters. We have Shelby and Shannon who are joining us today to help with the interpretation. Okay. You may know if you come to our showcase sessions that I really like to have a bit of a picture where we are coming from, especially for our guest presenters. And we have gone as far as North Bay and beyond in terms of who is joining us. Today, we are a bit closer to home. So AlphaPlus is located in Toronto, and the three programs or organizations that are joining us are closer to us. So Metro Toronto Movement for Literacy is also in Toronto. LAMP is also in Toronto in the Lakeshore Etobicoke area. And then Skills Upgrading Center, Brittany is joining us from Newmarket. So this time a bit closer group, but it doesn't mean others are not using the modules or not trying the modules or not using the smartphone. So of course, welcome everyone. Now, I mentioned that we gave our guest presenters guiding questions. So just to keep you all on the same page, what we asked for and what they will be talking about. So of course, they're going to introduce themselves as a team, as an organization. They will briefly tell us about themselves. We asked MTML slightly different questions. So Ambreen is going to talk about the actual modules, how they were developed, why they were developed, and so on. And then we're going to move to LAMP and the other program that's sharing with us today to talk actually about how those smartphone modules may be used within the program with the learners and overall why and how smartphones are being used. So we will have different perspectives on that. During that whole process, we really encourage you to share and add to the conversation using the chat or, even giving reactions, taps up, letting us know how you feel about what we are discussing and what we are sharing as well. And then really, we want to know what can we tell other programs about using smartphone with learners? What works? What are the tips? What are the resources that may be helpful? And with that in mind, I'm going to move to Ambreen. And Ambreen, I think you're unmuted. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you're spotlighted as well. So you will be one of the first videos everybody should see.
Okay, so Monica, you're going to be, should I just say next?
Yes, just tell me next whenever you want me to move on.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, AlphaPlus and Monica, to invite MTML at this showcase event and help us showcase our project, which we thought was a wonderful addition to the literacy community. So yeah, I'm the managing director at MTML, but I was also the project manager for this project last year. Just move to the next slide.
Perfect. You summarize it faster than we have on the screen. This is awesome.
Yes, I know, right? I don't like to talk about myself. But anyways, so today's agenda, and I'm going to make sure that we stay within the 15 minutes, but I'm going to talk about why we came up with this project idea. So what was the project need? There were some guiding principles that were used during this project, and that was so important for us. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then the project outcomes. The project outcomes will involve what the learning modules are, how you can find it. And the best thing is what we're planning to do next. Next slides. Okay, so the project need. As you know, COVID changed everything. But this project, when we applied for it in 2021, we realized there were a lot of job seekers and clients and learners who had just a smartphone. So I remember the research that we conducted at that time. Some of the stats showed that 77% of low-income families in Toronto region only did not even possess a single computer, while 7%, another 7% were unemployed. Looking at newcomers, we see that most of them have smartphones. So yes, smartphone is easy to use for social media. But when we talk about digital skills, it's not only social media or emails. So we realized that they had limited digital skills. And we did collaborate. We had discussions with our literacy community agencies in Toronto and York region at that time. And I remember Labour Education Centre, they're the ones who were located in Toronto. They did pilot sort of some sessions on smartphone just to see how it worked. And from there, we gathered some data and realized that so much needs to be done. So there was a mismatch of device. So most of our literacy programs before COVID were conducted either in person or online. Well, online, that was something that came up new in COVID. But there was a mismatch because laptop and computer devices, things were being taught on those devices, not on the smartphone. So that there was a mismatch of devices, providing services and programs. So that was where we thought, okay, that's another thing. Then we also realized, I mean, being from the literacy field, even I call myself tech savvy, but even I didn't have those skills, which I thought, oh, maybe I need to develop these skills in order to use a smartphone properly, or even to teach a learner. So there was a lack of professional training and support for staff. Then there was this digital divide. Next slides. Okay, so we came up with this project, and there were the guiding principles. First, it was very learner-centered, and that is one of the uniqueness of these learning modules that our project partners and LAMP and Literacy Council York Simcoe were two of those as well. We had created a client reference group. They were the ones who were providing us with feedback. They came up with titles and topics, and it was a continuous collaboration. So it was very learner-centered. Each project partner in our project developed their own, helped us develop their modules. So it was very specific to the needs of those learners. And that's why it was very client-centered as well. One of our partners was Access Employment. So the modules created for Access Employment look a little bit different because they did not require any learning activities with it. So again, each module was created based on the needs of the project partners. Then we made sure that it was the guiding principle was missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, call for justice number 4.4. It was also truth and reconciliation calls to action. So one of our project partners was Council Fire, who serve Indigenous communities, and two of the modules were based on their learner needs. The next thing which we did was trauma-informed approach. We hired a social service worker for our project who made sure that she included that trauma-informed that approach with learners. So all of the learners, and I'll talk a little bit about it in detail in the next slides, but we included that, and that did make such a difference in our learning modules. Place-based leadership, we developed, so the different project partners that were involved, so they developed their skills as well. So it was very specific to each organization. We tried to develop the organization capacity by helping them understand what smartphone skills are and how to come up with new modules. And then we included experiential learning. It is a very important part of our project. We hired 5 field researchers, and they were from the literacy or employment service. They were the clients, the current or former. And we provide them training. They're the ones who did research. So that experiential learning was a part of the project, and that's why it made it so unique. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I just want to talk a little bit about the trauma-informed approach. When we created resources, again, the role of the social support worker was we realized how stress and emotion impacted learners when they were learning something about smartphone. And again, whenever technology is such a thing that you don't know anything, you do get stressed. So and then we created some accessible strategies. I'll talk about those resources that are even now available for free on our website. So we integrated some wellness practices. We educated the learners who were involved in the creation of all these learning modules about mental health and learning. There were some breathing exercises. There were some written writing techniques, mindful activities, how to write down about your feelings. And then clear language was another important aspect in our sessions. So based on all these, we created resources, and you will see once you take a look at the videos, we did include some breathing exercise in the beginning, towards the end. There are tip sheets that are that are through that trauma-informed lens, and so these were the things that were included in the resources. So I think that was very important, a very, very important part of our resource building. Now, this project could not have been done without collaboration between all our 6 project partners. So we had 6 project partners: LAMP, LCY, Literacy Council York, Simcoe, Council Fire, Access Employment, YMCA, and I'm forgetting 2 more names. They'll come to me. But then we created 12 learning modules. Now, just a little bit about it. Each project partner we helped them create 2 learning modules per project partner. But then in the middle, we realized that Access Employment had different requirements. So we made 4 different videos for them. It's scanning or scanning a document using an Android while scanning a document using iPhone. Towards the end of the project, we added 4 more learning modules, and they were not in collaboration with the project partners, but they were created by MTML, and they're related to internet safety and security. Each one of the learning modules has a video, a tip sheet. As I talked about it, tip sheets are from that trauma-informed lens, and then there's this mini lesson. The mini lesson, all of these things are available in 2 formats. Not only is it PDF, which can be downloadable, but also there's an e-learning component. So we created a web application, and learners can access that web application. It can be instructor-led. If you're doing it in a class, they can use a smartphone and do it online, or it can be, and again, I'm sure LAMP and LCYs will be talking about it, but there are 2 formats. Next slide. Okay. So Monica, I just wanted to show on our website how they can find.
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing, and then you should be able to share your screen.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our website. You'll have to go under resources and click on smartphone skills. So basically this is the main page for the smartphone project. This is the first video talks about the whole project overview, and I'm going to show that video in a while. We've got the transcripts for each video, each resource. Now here are the 2. I'm first going to talk about this page and then move to the learning modules. So this is where you're going to find the learning modules. Practice online means it will take you to a web application. That web application I'll just open up in a minute, but as you scroll down, we've got the French version of modules as well, thanks to Kofa, who helped us translate all the modules. Last year, we had provided around 7 training sessions to various literacy practitioners across Ontario. We kept up two recordings over here. So there's a 2-hour session. There are also the handouts over there. So if you want to watch the recording, train the rest of the staff, you're most welcome to find it here. Then there's this 1.5-hour session. So again, both are one's for employment services and one's for LBS service providers. We've got a training guide on how to teach and train on smartphones. This is a PDF format, which you can use when you're going through the learning modules. These were the mental health resources I was talking about. We've created some PowerPoints. You can just download it and use it in your sessions or in your classes when you're dealing with learners. These are, again, free to use. We've got a few different topics related to it. And whenever you start your session, you can always use this PowerPoints as well. So it's up to you how you use it. Then we have some flyers. So if you want to market if you create a program that has these smartphone modules, you can, use the flyers and again, as depends on what your need is. We had a forum towards the end of the project in which we invited some workforce development stakeholders. The forum recording and handouts are also available. Again, if you want to take a look at it, the research that was conducted by the field researcher, it was an amazing research. There was so much that we found out. Do take a look at it. I mean, we've put in 2 types of reports. One is just simple research report, while the other one is about the report about the whole project. Yes, and the ones I was forgetting were Labor Education Center and the rest. So these were our project part. Okay. So as we scroll here, learning modules are, again, once you click on this one, learning modules, it should take you to learners and service providers. So this one, clicking on this tile will help learners to understand the smartphone. So the content is the same. It's just that the service providers tile, when you click over here, has the trainer's guide. I think it should be here.
And just to add, Tracy has added links to both or all of them on our chat. So if it's easier, you can click in the chat on the link to be able to open it and save it.
Yeah. So these are the ones for, and then you just go back and. Okay. Practice online is, again, what you can, it depends on your format of instruction. This takes you to a web application. And so the main page is who can use these modules. And we did add this accessibility software as well, just so, depending on the different learners you may have, it changes the settings of the whole website. So we try to make it very accessible. Who can use these modules? And then again, you can go through this, how to navigate the website. We created a video in case you forget, okay, where do I go? What do I do? This video will tell you how to navigate the website. On the top, you can see there are all these modules. You click on any one, and I'm just going to try this using Bluetooth safely. The internet is slow, but there's a difference between the rest of the modules compared to these ones. I mean, let me show you. Okay, LAMP, I know they're going to talk about their one. Okay, let's just say Labor Education Center. So over here, you can just click on this and watch the video. I know on the right side, we've got these accessibility settings, feedback, need help, download modules. Now, you can also download all modules instead of going to each module separately. So you can do it all together. Tip sheets, again, make sure that you have to click on the one. It's going to turn purple. And then, so tip sheets, you click on this arrow and see the details. That's how we try to make it very easy. The mini lessons, again, they can start it. Click on this button and they're going to start the whole lesson. So that's technically the format for all the 12 modules. These ones, the last 4 ones, which have our logo in front of it, are a little bit different. The learners can just start from here. So the video is probably included in this one, and they can just click on this video and do it all together over there. Any questions regarding this, or should I? And we're planning to create more modules in partnership with AlphaPlus. So that's what we're planning for the next one. So stay tuned for 4 or 5 new modules. Yeah. No questions. So if you could share the slides.
Yeah. And I'm really, I have jumped a bit. I'm on the video slide just because you showed everything on the screen. Did you want me to play the video?
Sure. I think somebody just said something.
How long is the video?
It's 2 minutes.
Okay. Let me see if I don't know if when I was sharing if I turn on the audio. So I'm going to click on it and see if it's going to work. Can everybody hear it?
Nope.
No? Okay.
No.
So let me just give me 1 second. I'm going to do new share and share the sound, and I'll do it one more time. My apologies. Okay.
I'm glad you're doing this. Need for job seekers
Is this okay now?
Digital skills.
Yes.
Okay.
As COVID-19 shifted the delivery of employment and literacy,
could you start from the beginning and do full screen, Monica?
Yes, that's a very good idea. Let me go backtrack to the beginning. Make it full screen and play.
This video introduces service providers to our work in supporting smartphone skills acquisition. We know that there's growing need for job seekers to have strong digital skills.
You have a raised hand. I'll just wait after the video unless there's a problem.
The delivery of employment and literacy basic skills services to a digital platform. We also learned that many learners rely on a smartphone as their only internet-connected device. And there's a lack of teaching and learning materials that focus on smartphone skills. It's hard to rely only on a smartphone to find information, communicate with others, apply for work, share files, and fill out forms. It's even harder for those with literacy challenges. It can cause stress and present barriers to finding work and participating in job-related training. With government funding in 2022, Metro Toronto Movement for Literacy collaborated with 6 literacy and basic skills and employment services agencies with the goal of supporting adult literacy learners and employment services clients in using smartphones. They consulted with learners and other stakeholders to learn about the needs and challenges. Then, they developed several short learning modules on foundational smartphone skills. They integrated a trauma-informed approach, making sure the modules were easy to use, and included strategies to help learners manage stress while they were learning. Each module is available online and has similar components, for example, a title tile, learning outcomes, tips for managing stress, a short video that shows how to complete the digital task, a tip sheet, and practice activities or mini-lessons available in PDF form for class or individual use or as interactive e-learning. Our work in supporting smartphone skills acquisition is a small contribution to a province-wide effort to address systemic inequality in an increasingly digitized job market. The smartphone modules are freely available on the MTML website. We hope you find them useful.
Perfect. I'm going to go back to the slides. Ambreen, last slide.
So what we're planning to build new modules through partnerships. We are continuously applying for funding so that we can build new modules. And again, one of the examples is that we're planning to collaborate with AlphaPlus in building new modules this year. Yes, and yeah, that's it. We're going to spread the word, keep on building on what's already there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ambreen. I know there is a question from Jane. Jane, would you like to ask the question?
Yes, thank you. First, I want to say the resources look incredible. It's just beautiful. My question is there any plan to keep the modules up to date? Because you know how quickly technology changes and the phone versions change and all that kind of thing. Is there any, rather than just keep creating new ones, are you going to maintain the other ones that you've already created?
So one of the things in our project was that we had told the project partners that they owned it. So if they want to make changes to it, they can at their end. MTML will not be making any changes as yet. Again, depends on funding. If we get new funding, yes, we are planning to include more updated topics. But as far as these modules are concerned, I don't think that's not one of our plans. But good idea. We could include that in our upcoming planning, for sure.
Absolutely. And then just going back to the chat, there was a bit of a conversation in the chat about the type of modules those are and how they can be accessed. And there was a question, they can be accessed through or used on other websites. And Marco, if you would like to clarify, and re-answer your question, but I'm just wondering, are you expecting to get a code or the H5P information to be able to put it on other websites? How can we answer your question better?
Yeah, I thank you. I noticed that it is an H5P document, but there's no way to re-embed it. And I'm wondering if that's possible because the download video is just the video, not with the H5P functionality.
So you're saying, yeah, I know that we did create it on H5P. So you're saying that you want to embed this somewhere else?
Exactly. Yeah, like some H5P resources, you can create them for reuse as well as for just use one time.
You know what? That's a great question, Marco. I'll get back to. I'll answer. I'll let Monica know. Let me find out about that one.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we took notes. So, again, sharing ideas and suggestions. That's a really good question, Marco. So thank you for that. I can see
because
Patricia
I know,
has a question too.
Sorry, I remember there was someone from the correctional facilities and they wanted to add these modules to their programs that were run at the correctional facilities, but they required the PDF format, not the e-learning one. Mm-hmm. And for that, it was easy, right? But that's a good question.
And Tracy posted. So Tracy is doing some training on H5P from AlphaPlus. So if there's a way to collaborate or support each other, I'm sure Tracy will be able to help.
Tracy, for sure.
So this is great. Okay, let's give floor to Patricia. And Patricia, I'm going to spotlight you.
Just making sure he's like, can you see me? So in terms of smartphones, specifically Android, because they have, Android phones, they have Apple phones. I'm wondering if there's any difference between the two, program types on the phones. Can these modules be used on either Android or iOS platforms?
So that was one concern that did come up while we were creating the learning modules, that the practitioners told us that the learners had different models, right? And we did include Android and iPhone. So there are two options I think it's in the training guide, or we did include two types. Even in the video, we did give one version of Android and one version of iPhone in the video. Besides that, others, we didn't include some, but there is a difference. Android and iPhones are different. We did try to include that though in the videos.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more questions? If no more questions, we are going to move to our next group, which is going to be the LAMP program. And actually, it's going to be Brittany. Brittany, sorry about that. Brittany will go with you next. So I'm going to remove your spotlight. You can breathe. And Brittany, where are you on my screen so I can spotlight you? Perfect. Here we go.
Hello. Everyone can hear me okay? Hello, my name is Brittany. I'm the Program and Marketing Assistant at the Skills Upgrading Center, Literacy Council of York Simcoe. I've been working here for just over a year, and last year our center participated in the smartphone pilot program. So just briefly, the Skills Upgrading Center provides customized training programs and job-specific workshops to assist adults in York Simcoe and the surrounding areas in improving their employment prospects, preparing for a higher education, and acquiring the skills they need for a successful future. These programs include upgrading in reading, writing, and math, computer training, training with smartphones and tablets, and workshops in customer service, bookkeeping, and writing. So we started this pilot program in January, and we decided to join because we noticed an increased need for it in the community, such as students would come calling into the center with only the smartphone that they would use for the workshops and training. And so we sent out an interest email to our students, and we got a lot of interest back. And we just contacted the first 10 people, and we set up individual sessions with them. So we did a mix of both online and in-person sessions. So we had participants registering that had been using their smartphone for 5 or more years, but had never used it for searching the internet for settings. They had only been using it for calling and texting. So there was one person that walked in with an email they had received that had a link to a job application in the email, and they had no idea how to access it through that link. So the modules that were developed from the smartphone project help a lot with this. And we still have people who are interested in learning it with smartphones and tablets. So in doing the sessions with the different students, I personally found that the in-person sessions were much more interactive. I was able to troubleshoot with the students if they struggled with navigation or instructions from the video. The online sessions I found were quicker, and I received fewer questions. But as follow-up, I could always provide the link to the modules for the students who expressed interest in doing it on their own. I had one student come in who was beyond frustrated with her smartphone because she explained to me that no matter what she did, something always happened where she lost her open apps and settings, or something had changed in her phone. So the calming tone of the module instructions was very helpful into getting us in the right mindset for learning. I found most of our students signed up for the training because family members had become impatient with them, so none of them had the support network for discovering how to use their devices. There was also a little bit of apprehension because most of the features of the smartphone, most of them were using it for the first time. Everyone was used to answering calls and texting, but searching through the settings and navigating the websites in Safari and Chrome were new. So I have 2 quotes here from 2 of the learners that we helped. And so, yes, Anne told me herself, she's like, I want to do more on my own and rely less on my kids to help me search for things online. So now we can move to the next slide. So tips-wise, I think patience is the key for working with learners who are using the smartphones and using different learning methods. So information and instructions are easily absorbed. We use step-by-step instructions and had them repeat it several times before they go off on their own. In some cases, the in-person one specifically, we had our own device, so we would show them how to do the walk through the instructions, how to access the modules, and then we had them go through it on their own device, so they were getting that instruction on the device that they use all the time. I had really good feedback for the tips sheet for the smartphone modules, so I would go through those with the students as well. And then I took notes of any questions that they had that related to the topics, so that we could have some feedback for any future sessions and modules. A lot of the students had a lot of questions about using the search terms, using YouTube, how to share photos and videos, and so we've used other modules on the AlphaPlus website to kind of help them furthering with their learning. So we're also looking to do a lot more in the future, and so these new modules are very interesting. So, but that about covers the experience that we had with the project. It was a very good experience, and so we're looking forward to the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brittany. And again, please feel free to message, chat. Messages are always very welcome, or ask questions, raise your hands. Brittany, you mentioned that you used other resources, and I know in the chat there was somebody mentioned open educational resources that AlphaPlus has been publishing. Is that something you're referring to, or is there something else that you were using?
No, yeah, that's it. That was it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Tracy, if you wouldn't mind finding our link to the open educational resources, we should be able to place it here as well for everybody else. Our team behind the scenes is really working hard to add more information and resources. I believe they just added 2 new categories to the collection. So visit it often because we are making changes there as well. Now, there's a question from Jim. When you do your classes, how do you adapt the materials? For example, do you simply watch the videos and simply work through the material, or do you do something else?
We watch the videos. So we did individual sessions, one-on-one. So even in person, I would have a participant navigate to the website on their phone, so they're getting that practical experience. And then we would watch the video together. I would ask if there was any questions after the video. And then we would go through the mini lesson and the tip sheets together.
That's a good practice as well. And as you were showing, and I think many of us, we all use our phones or all kinds of devices, and the interfaces change. Things get moved or renamed a lot. So being able to refer or apply it to the needs that somebody has, like answering an email or reading something, that just reinforces that practice as well. Is that correct? Is that what you're seeing with your learners?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And another question from Jim: how many sessions do you do at once?
One at a time. We do such we have a flexible training schedule, and so we don't schedule classes with our learners because most of them are independent study.
Okay. So I'm assuming it's a question about modules. So 1 module per session in a way.
Yes, we do 1 module per session, and if they would like to do more after that, I provide them the link and they can do the independent study.
That's fantastic. And I think the beauty of the resources that are online, and there are even sections to go to that may help.
It's very easy to navigate too. So,
all right. This is great. Any other questions from Brittany? Even if we move on, feel free to add those questions in the chat. We will be monitoring and checking as well. I don't see any raised hands. So we'll move to our 3rd program, and it's a bit bigger group. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to quickly set up to make sure everybody is spotlighted. Thank you so much, Brittany. Really appreciate all your help. Perfect. So now we are going to go to Anita, and Anita, I'm going to spotlight you. And I'm going to spotlight Robert. And I don't know if Johanna, I'm going to spotlight you as well. Here we go. So we have 3 guests from the LAMP program. Who would like to go first? And I can navigate the slide. Just let me know when.
Sorry. Johanna, do you want to say a few words? And then Robert and I will take over the slides.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting LAMP Adult Learning Program to the AlphaPlus Virtual Showcase. It's just amazing to see how this smartphone learning is taking hold of our programs. So I'm Anita D'Angelo. I'm a community literacy worker at Lakeshore Area Multi-Service Project. I've been here since 2019. Robert?
Yeah, hey, so I started here as a social service worker placement. I was doing that program at George Brown, completed that program, and then have basically been doing short-term contracts ever since as an instructor and community literacy worker as well.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to explain about our program. So we are a leader in promoting and advocating for physical, mental, and social well-being through inclusion, integrated community program, and healthcare services. The adult learning program takes place in a community engaged, supportive, and welcoming space. to improve your reading, writing, and or digital literacy skills in our community-based literacy and basic skills program. So we provide free small group tutoring to support adults in reaching their goals, such as employment, independence, obtaining their secondary school credit, post-secondary studies, and apprenticeship. Our trained staff and volunteer tutors work from a learner-centered and holistic approach. So on this first page, digital literacy, what it means is having the skills you need to live, learn, and work in a society where communication and access to information are increasingly through digital technologies like internet platforms, social media, and mobile devices from the Niche Academy. Next slide.
All right.
Thank you. So smartphone resources, this is where all the fun begins. Ambreen, thank you so much for explaining in detail that MTML, we use your resources a lot. So you have great resources on your website, and providing these modules for learning smartphones have been very beneficial for our learners who need to reach their 5 different goals in our program. So once your pilot project with MTL started in 2022, we had quite eager learners who wanted to be on board learning smartphone skills. So they learned learning how to de-stress. So those videos with having the social worker on there is really amazing. So, you know, before and after the videos, they really enjoyed the videos. So even we found that some of them were, you know, because they're very, very basic. So, you know, they had a lot of skills just even in one video. So we stopped it after one skill. They practiced, we practiced together, and then we moved on again. So very, very helpful. So they also, the tip sheets and many lessons were very helpful. So MTML has great tools, as Ambreen has showed us on her website. And as we move to the next era of smartphone skills, other resources that we have been using is the online gcfglobal.org program. And this has also shaped our curriculum for learning technology. The site is a program of the Goodwill Community Foundation, hence GCF. These essential skills that are needed to live and work in the 21st century by offering self-paced online courses for anyone. We had a Toronto Public Library excursion to 110 11th Street here in Etobicoke by our digital smartphone group. And they really enjoyed and learned how to download the TPL app to their home screen on their smartphone, whether it be an Android or iPhone, thus giving them a convenient way to get quick access to searching your account and other library services and information. So the Toronto Public Library supports as well digital equity through a variety of free services and programs that are available to all Torontonians. We also had a recent outdoor excursion to the AGO with our new SFS immersive digital program on November the 2nd. So with these new skills learned by our learners on their smartphone, they were able to build new and transferable skills that help them navigate the TTC, travel by car, and using their Google Maps, connecting at the AGO by text so that we could all meet at specific times and places. We had one learner who was late, and we managed to track her down with text and phone call between Johanna and I, and she was very happy once she reached AGO to join our group. Lala, a learner from the group, was amazed at how we kept in communication with Gabriella by text and phone, and said that anyone else would have just left her on her own to navigate the AGO. So we all came together. Thank you. Next slide. Great. So these are some examples of using smartphone skills in our program. So the first one is a milestone. It was completed by Sushama in the immersive digital program. She used collages that she put together, taking pictures on her smartphone and presenting her expressive creativity using digital skills. The second one, Julia, she's actually in our reading and writing program, and she wanted to learn just how to use Google Maps because she travels by foot, and she wanted to know how to get to places. So she was taught how to use her Google Maps on her iPhone in the reading and writing class. And the last one, the third one, Dave, he also wanted to share about his favorite place, the Mimico Arena, with his friends on internet. So once they clicked on that little share notes, it opened up, to the Mimico Arena, and it showed their website. So lots of learning skills for these basic digital learners in our program. I have a learner success story from Sushama. So she came to us with just using her cell phone for calling. And now she's explaining why she enrolled in the LAMP program. So the motivation behind my decision to join the LAMP program stemmed from a desire to acquire fundamental skills related to my smartphone usage, specifically in navigating various applications. So her key learnings: participating in digital learning classes within the LAMP program has proven immensely beneficial. Again, proficiency in tasks such as downloading, deleting apps, checking my iPhone profile and storage, discovering valuable applications like Seek, Smiling Mind, Duolingo, and Google Translate. Additionally, I honed my ability to search for accommodations on platforms like Airbnb, hotels, along with planning activities for vacations in different cities. The program's field trips, such as the one to the Art Gallery of Ontario, were particularly captivating experiences. Her tutor support. So throughout this educational journey, my tutors, Bonnie and Ruth, have been instrumental in my progress. Their kindness, cooperation, approach greatly enhanced my overall learning experience. Thanks, Sushama. So she's one of our inspiring learners. She completed the SFS pilot project, and then she registered in our core program. And now she's on her way to PTP to take intermediate digital technologies. Okay, thank you so much. And next slide.
All right, thank you, Anita. Yeah, so I think so navigating challenges and celebrating achievements. So I just wanted to give an overall picture of what it's been like using smartphones with our learners. Ambreen has already touched on a lot of what I'll talk about, actually, specifically including the use of clear language and wellness, and just acknowledging like the anxieties of learners and how important that trauma-informed approach is to like lesson planning and just your work with learners in the actual sessions. Yeah, so MTML has done like already such an excellent job laying the foundation of this learning. But let's talk about the application and everything. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so the challenges of smartphone learning and instruction. So yes, there's a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of challenges. So I'd like to start with that. And that has to begin with the smartphone and then digital tech terminology. So the use and application of tech language and terminology has always been an initial barrier to the learning. So similar to, academic language found in post-secondary schools or a new field of work or anything else, right? So this terminology, it's crucial to understanding and applying the information, as well as just independently accessing and interpreting and interacting with their device, and then like that larger tech culture. Learners have also described difficulties finding the necessary language to use while seeking tech support from friends and family and colleagues. And this can leave them feeling isolated or left behind. So this is particularly relevant for our senior learners who often express feeling isolated by a generational gap of knowledge and experience relating to the use of tech. So, which is in its own right, another form of digital divide, actually. So a recommendation here is I think there's definitely a need for a consolidated plain language dictionary of terms and definitions. So something that can be shared with learners and referenced throughout their time in the program. There are some online dictionaries that do exist. I found that they aren't super user-friendly and they don't necessarily emphasize basic smartphone terms. Yeah, so that kind of leads into our next point. So learner anxiety and tech intimidation. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay. So often heard in the sessions. So comments expressing feelings of fear while using tech or the technology or the intimidation of their smartphones. Yeah, so oftentimes we have to reassure our learners that it's okay to fail. I had an app lesson recently that I did with everybody, and just deleting that app, they make you go through at least 2 to 3 different kind of confirmations. And so showing the learners that, there's room, right? To actually, pull back if you think you're going to fail or, yeah. So using and developing lessons then with an emphasis on safety and security as well, that are also trauma informed, that's a huge asset while learning foundational skills. So some of the learners I've worked with have been actual victims of phishing schemes. And so the learning material has had to reflect that, specifically with the language. I know like one kind of, or some resource I pulled when I was putting together a lesson said, oh, well, use your common sense when it came to phishing schemes. Well, I think that's kind of, condescending and potentially even insulting to learners when it comes down to the knowledge you have, not your common sense. So it's particularly important to pay attention to that when you're putting together lessons. So overall, learners require this specific knowledge to leave the sessions feeling safe enough to approach and apply what they've learned out in the real world. And I see already that MTML has added some of those lessons like phishing, Bluetooth safety, how to bank. That's like an excellent step forward and honestly would have been a recommendation if I hadn't seen that already. So definitely paving the way. So finally, working with a vast array of smartphone makes and models. This has come up a bunch. And I know for Anita and I, this is obviously, and some of the tutors too, it's been a huge challenge, right? Challenge for both the instructors and the learners. And with those devices as well come different operating systems. Some are easier to learn than others. Some are easier to work with than others. And then, some are just not user-friendly, specifically Android models. So some content varies widely in relevance and poses challenges when forming material in a learner-centered way. So as mentioned previously, the instructor and volunteers, we can't be experts in all tech, and learning is often done alongside with the actual learners. So a recommendation, which I'll discuss later, but for now, I think introducing the learning with a lesson describing and identifying the difference between Android and iPhones and the group's personal devices, that's a great starting point. I have some feedback from one of the learner quickly. They've been in the program for, almost a year now. So I really sat down with them and I know they particularly have faced some challenges in their learning. So I wanted to get, some of their kind of experience. There has been a hesitance to fully adopt and practice that technology, yet they do understand the value. And I think that's due to, an aversion to using it regularly and integrating it into their life. This learner in particular kind of has succumbed to an all or nothing approach. And that's due to those feelings of being almost forced to make the change. So some learners come in wanting to learn it, and some simply know that they need it to adapt, which kind of adds another layer and pressure. So again, an absence of those foundational skills leaves them feeling anxious about, everything, all of their new tech-based changes to systems that were more tangible and straightforward for them. For example, like digital receipts, paper billing, concert tickets. They're having to now, adapt to a huge, huge leap in technology. So we have to recognize that. Yeah. So we can go on to the next slide.
Here we go.
Thank you. So,
oops, sorry, too fast.
That's okay. So celebrating learner success. There has been a lot of success. We've been kind of learning on the fly with that foundation of MTML, but having to adapt in our own way. So I'll touch on that. So troubleshooting as a group and reframing challenges. I found that this is really like a key element in instructing a large, or not a large group, but a small group. So yeah, troubleshooting, it's a valuable exercise. It builds a sense of camaraderie within the group. It illustrates that all of us are not experts, including the facilitator, and allows the group to face difficult and frustrating challenges in a more casual and informal way, and without judgment. So we're all kind of working at this together. Troubleshooting, it can be done in the spirit of exploration and in a way that allows for, a little levity in moments of frustrating, learning. And learning in a group can also alleviate fear of breaking their smartphone and encourage learners to take risks and experiment and explore their tech in the safety of a group. And then finally, keeping that content learner-centered. So I know this was like a huge focus for MTML. And yeah, having every agency kind of develop these learning modules with the learners is like so important. Because a lot of this is very personal to people, and we need to keep them engaged and interested in the material. So yeah, but it is a challenge in a group setting, as learners have individual goal paths and skill levels. Again, that use of tech is very personal, with learners often having different opinions and viewpoints about the use of tech. And that's all depending on prior interaction and feelings about safety and security, some in which I mentioned earlier. So working as a group to prioritize and identify possible shared goals, developing a group contract, and then regular check-ins, they've all played a crucial role in keeping everyone kind of engaged and on, a similar goal path. Yeah, and also the learning, keeping people interested in what they're learning. And finally, fostering an environment that encourages peer support. Especially when we're working in groups, I found that integrating, this concept of peer support has been super helpful in keeping people engaged once again in the learning. So yeah, peer support, we have to consolidate skills in a group setting to ensure and encourage participation from all learners, while also building a sense of community, because this is community literacy and we are learning together. So facilitators, we have to capitalize on the diversity of the group and their individual skills. Encouraging peers to support one another allows learners to review and reinforce the skills they have through one-on-one instruction with a group member, and also frees up the instructor to work with other high needs learners in the session. So oftentimes people are coming in and out of our program at different skill levels. Some people have been longer, some people have just started. And this is where I find kind of that peer support element kind of crucial to make sure we're all engaged in learning. Yeah. So finally, back to Dave, our learner. He left some comments about more of his success in the program. So he's felt that he has a greater level of comfort using these modules and all of the lessons we've been developing and working together on. And he feels this despite facing roadblocks and having to overcome new plateaus in learning. He also feels like he's improved foundational skills, and learning as a group has helped on occasion. Yeah, and if I were to make one recommendation, it would be, the development of group-based activities and projects. Because I do know some agencies, like ours, for instance, we kind of rely on a group setting instead of one-on-one instruction. So yeah, next slide, please.
Thank you, Robert. Sorry, my voice. Sorry. So I just want to, just talk about the smartphone era. So without a doubt, smartphones are a gateway to information, and if used appropriately, it has the potential to enhance learners in their skill preparation for reaching their goals. Smartphones also provide a way for instructors to facilitate and inspire student learning and creativity while increasing motivation to learn in a collaborative uh, learning environment. Whether it be professional training, personal development, or in everyday life, modern individuals now get their information mostly from their mobile devices. In this technological age, mobile learning serves as the best solution for keeping with the learning trends, delivering smartphone modules, thank you MTML, and different resources cuts through the barriers and allows the learners to acquire these skills, access and use their device at any time and anywhere. So for LAMP Adult Learning Program, the next while we have incorporated our programs with the smartphone and find that more and more learners want to learn how to use their digital devices with confidence. The immersive digital learning program is our launch to improve digital reading and writing skills while exploring and cultivating wellness in a natural space. Mobile learning improves engagement, motivation, provides more interactive and personalized learning experience, and increases the accessibility of learning new skills for learners, whether at home or in a creative learning environment. We welcome more new learners to our digital program. Thank you.
This is great, Anita, Robert, and Johanna. I really appreciate your sharing all the stories and reading to us the learner experiences as well. I hope you can send us that so we can include it as quotes or testimonials from the learners. And as you were saying, with the shift to using mobile devices in many cases, and when you look at seniors or people who need to measure their blood pressure or they need to measure their sugar levels, they actually are forced in a way to be using mobile devices, but they don't know how. So being able to make them comfortable, give them the skills to use them for many, many different reasons and many different purposes. It's amazing. And I'm so excited to see all this happening. We do have a question from Patricia, and we have a few good comments and questions from the chat, but I will start with Patricia. Patricia, go ahead.
Okay. Hi again. Can you see me? Yeah, all good. I did have a question, I guess, for both of you. I'm wondering about the two-step factor authentication, for example. So, if there's a student who's using their laptop, and they get blocked because of a password, for instance, and they can't get in to their account, you can usually get a code sent to their mobile phone with that, two-step factor authentication. And sometimes it's a bit of a challenge with some people. Some people, can't do it. And so is that something that you guys have recognized with your non-deaf learners as well? Is that something that has come up?
The use of two-factor authentication, like in the actual sessions?
Yeah, like between the laptop and the phone.
We're mostly using smartphones now. I did actually have, in our last session, there was a moment where we did need to kind of work through the two-factor authentication. It really does pose a problem in session, because sometimes they don't have access to their personal computer while they're here at LAMP. Sometimes there's a way for them to retrieve their information through email and then a text to their phone. It goes back to the troubleshooting element, and again, that reframing that it's not always going to be easy and straightforward. The learning's not always linear, and we're also just not experts. And so in the session, it's kind of just that's a great illustration of that it's a work in progress sometimes. but we do what we can when we're in groups here. I don't know if that answers your question.
And just to add to that, so I think historically with the two-factor authentication, we have seen sessions where you have a teacher who will give their own phone number just to verify the email so the learner can get in and continue. But I think with the more security and safety we're looking at, it is really a suggested tool, either two-factor authentication or there are other apps, authenticators and so on, that the systems are suggesting to use just for privacy and security because of how often you may lose a device or somebody may be trying to break into your account. So if the two-stage verification is tricky, sometimes there's an option to add another email as an option. So that's another way to do that. Or sometimes there's codes that the system will give you to use. It just depends on the tools and devices. But that's something that may change over time. But the more protections we have, the better it will be. And Anita, I can see you have raised your hand. If you want to comment, go ahead.
Thank you. So this is really interesting because I had a learner, it's just very sad. He had no internet at home. He was going to start a new job. He was actually during COVID, just the beginning, 2020, he was parked outside of LAMP. He got our Wi-Fi and he was doing his lessons with me online at home and he was at LAMP. So, technology is just amazing. So he was happy to join that way. But anyways, with this two-step authentication, the same gentleman, he had to use his email to apply for a job, and he says, "Oh, can I just write them my resume?" And I said, "No, you can't." So, and he forgot his password for his Gmail, and that was the only one that he had used for this employer because he worked there last year. So, poor guy. So I said, "Okay, you only have your landline, so that's what we're going to leave on there as your authentication." So he had to go home in his truck, go home. And I was on my computer. So he gave me, something how you had to get in and change the password. So I was in that Gmail sequence. And so then I said, "Okay, send it to the landline." So here he is at home picking up his phone. And then he got his code. And then we finally got his email up and running again. Yeah. So we will do whatever we can do to help them.
And that's a fantastic example because you can have a reverse. You can have a situation where somebody actually steals or breaks into the account, gets the password, gets in, but then that two-stage verification actually sends an email, text, whatever it is, to your phone number or another device. And that's how you can actually stop it or block it, or sometimes even bring it back to yourself if they actually manage to get in. You are still able to maintain control of your devices. So I know they're tricky and hard, but I always suggest that we use them, especially if you travel internationally, which, more of us do as well. If you travel internationally, you will not have your phone with you, or your phone number may not be working. So recognizing that there are codes that the systems may give you, and you should take them with you when you're traveling internationally, and other processes you may have to implement would be important as well. Now, exactly. I'm looking at the timing. It's 2:48, so I don't want to take up too much of our time. I know 3:00 is our stop time. Two more things, and thank you so much, Anita and Robert, for sharing and giving us your perspective. So there were a few questions. There was a question about the modules and older devices. And I know potentially there's a mention of what kind of model is being used for the modules for the Android and Apple. But had you ever tried or have you seen others who may have older devices using the modules? Do they struggle? Do they have any problems? It's a question for any of you, whoever is using the modules.
Can I answer that? I'm sorry, yes. Monica. I joined from
go ahead,
my laptop died.
Yeah.
So I know when we hired the field researchers, one of them had a Samsung phone, and she tried all the modules through that phone, and she was able to do it. So okay. I think, that's just one example. I know we don't directly deal with learners, but at our end, we did see that.
And it's that, that question that came up earlier, updating or changing the modules to keep up. And it's really hard because there are multiple devices, multiple versions. Some phones will not update anymore to the newer versions. So then you're looking really at a lot of differences. But I think, in the literacy field, we are all used to, transferability of our skills, how we can adapt, how we can learn. And I think that really is almost an example of that, how we all, our learners and ourselves, we are shifting and adjusting as the systems change and progress, and improve in some ways or get more difficult in other ways.
Yeah, and this just I loved Robert's idea about having that sort of a dictionary, or maybe we could start working on that one. I don't know, with technology, what words are being used on different devices. Maybe that would be a good thing to do as a next step as well.
That's a good idea. Absolutely. Absolutely. One more question we had, and I know it was partially answered, so I'm going to pose it here. In the meantime, on the slide, you can see I launched another Slido question for you. So some of you are going in and answering the questions. But just a quick note, question about the length of time it will take to go through all the modules. So is there 12 modules or 16 modules? Ambreen, can you correct me? 12 or 16?
No, 12, 14.
Okay.
Plus 4. So 4 were the extra, 18.
Okay, so if we wanted to go through 18 modules, I think you were saying it's 45 minutes to an hour per module if you do all.
I mean, we conducted a session during this project piloting with a seniors group.
Okay.
And it was 2 hours, but we managed to do 2 learning modules with them.
Okay. Okay, that's perfect. I know some of us want to have a bit of an idea, and technically you don't have to go through all the modules. You can pick and choose as you're going, and then organize them in a way that make sense for your learners as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
So there is Tracy actually posted something called Computer Hope Glossary, which is fantastic. Thank you, Tracy. We'll include that in our resources as well. But lots of great ideas and lots of great questions are coming in. I love seeing your feedback. So again, we are using Slido. You're just going to scan the code or put it into your browser, put the Slido number in there, and then you will be able to answer the questions. And the beauty of Slido is that we can now actually see all the responses coming in all together. I don't have to navigate back and forth between different applications. So I thank you for providing that feedback as we go. The other thing I wanted to ask you will, of course, be our final feedback that we are going to do after the session, just to make sure we address some of your questions, make sure that we can plan for the next topics coming forward. I can see there's more activity in the chat. What we are going to do is, again, package everything, the recording, the slides, the tips and resources you are sharing in our chat, the links, they will go on our virtual showcase website. And then you'll be able to access that within less than a week, hopefully. I usually send an email to all of our participants, so you will get an email pointing you to the resources. So they should be fairly easy to find. Now, I'm going to take one more minute and give you a bit more time to just kind of answer the questions in Slido if you would like to do that. And then we will move on to just wrap up our session for today and do the feedback form, and also to give you a bit of information about other things that are happening. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly scroll through some of your responses. So I can see many of you are suggesting that you will be teaching the modules to your students. It's also good to see how others are doing it. You can use the materials to supplement some of the existing materials you already have, useful for our computer classes. This is fantastic. So I'm glad that you're giving us that feedback. I'm sure that the team and the group who worked on the modules, who is developing them, updating them, and those who are implementing them will be happy to hear that as well. Continue doing this answers. They will be just loading into our page. In the meantime, what I will do is go to the next session and basically let you know that we are wrapping up for today. So basically, we had 4 sessions this year. We had 2 in the spring, 2 in the fall. We will hopefully come back next fiscal year with more showcases for you. But as we plan and organize all this information, we also want to know how you feel about that. That's why the feedback. I know that Tracy put the feedback link in the chat for you. If you have a few more minutes, please fill it out before you go. We are trying to give you a bit more time to do that. Stay if you have more questions, put them in the chat before we wrap up. That way we will be able to collaborate, do anything else that we can do. And I want to take the moment to thank all of our amazing guest presenters who took the time, who worked on the slides, who gathered the feedback from their learners, and really shared with us how things are working for all of you. So Anita, Robert, Johanna, Brittany, Ambreen, all of you, our interpreters, thank you so, so much for taking the time to be here with us and for sharing your stories and experiences. Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. It was a
And
pleasure.
Anita and Robert, I really want to learn more about your immersive digital learning project. I know you mentioned that it's actually a separate project from the smart modules, but it seems to be talking about technology. And then, so we want to know more. Let us know how we can learn or share some of the information if you are willing to share it at this time.
Robert, go ahead. Robert, he's the one that set up this wonderful program for all of us.
Yeah, it's definitely like a pilot project, so it's been, evolving, and it's been really exciting. And I think there's been a lot of great feedback from it. And I think, as we kind of mentioned earlier, I think a lot of it will be eventually just integrated into the core programming. Since it's all about, once again, using your skills in a practical real life world, and also kind of connecting with your community too, right? So yeah, we're really excited about it, and it's going to change by the season, by the week, and just continue to grow. But we'd love to share more about it.
Absolutely. So if you had to say, like in one or two sentences, what it is that you're going to be doing as that immersive digital learning project, what does that mean?
So as of now, it's mostly been in class kind of learning, right? So it's not traditional, but lesson, just strictly lessons. And so immersive digital learning takes it a step further and brings people into the community. So they're actually, like, for instance, in the coming weeks, I'll be teaching my learners to use Google Maps by actually bringing them out to like a coffee shop, for instance. So setting a course and walking them through that whole thing. Anita, I think you've already done something similar too, right? So
Yeah, both of us working on our immersive digital program, and skills they're just soaking everything out from us.
Yeah, I'll just clarify. So this immersive digital learning project, we started up and targeted it to start in April, and there were several field trips. Anita mentioned the AGO one that we took people on several weeks ago. There were 2 trips to Montgomery Inn and Etobicoke, and which we didn't talk about here. And there was also an Indigenous land appreciation project. One activity was going to the butterfly garden at LAMP that is right outside our door. So we did put in some outdoor aspects to it. We want to do more, but we're trying to. That's a whole other piece that involves a lot of planning, and we're doing it as we go along now till the end of March.
This is amazing, and really, I think for many of us, the ideas or the wheels are spinning. It's like, oh, we could do this as well. We could try something else. So this is inspiring. Thank you for that. And again, I'm just watching the feedback coming in the chat. So thank you everyone for sharing and giving the feedback to all of us. Again, we will share a lot with all the participants. Please feel free to, again, exchange information, chat, share, ask questions. But with that in mind, we are wrapping up. So thank you to all of you. Let me know if you have any more questions, if there's anything else we missed. And also in the feedback form, please let us know what else will be helpful. Maybe we can come back to the immersive digital learning and see how that's progressing next year. So it will be lovely to see and learn more as well. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the day, stay in touch, and December is coming up. So happy December, everyone. Thank you. Thank you to our participants. Thank you to our interpreters.